Hey guys, it's Candy. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you a Candiland book club review video, and I'm going to announce the next book for June. So if that sounds a little weird to you guys, I'm gonna let you guys know on a little change that I'm making with the Candiland book club. I'm no longer going to be doing 3 books a month. I think it was getting to be a little bit too much for myself, maybe even too much for you guys. I would be shocked if any of you guys were actually reading all 3 of the books that I selected for the month, because I was like reading your comments and there'd be like, you know, some here or there that you would say, oh, I'm reading such and such book, and it would be one of the books that I selected, but it was like only one of the 3. So I just feel like maybe we'll have a better chance of getting like actual conversation going, getting more feedback from you guys if I only select 1 book a month. And then that way, that won't be so much pressure on myself to make sure I'm getting at least 1 book done every 10 days, because I was actually finding it a little bit difficult, especially with the books that aren't like as good. If I pick up a book and it's really, really good, I get it done in a matter of a few days. But if it's kind of slow and I'm just like, well, I want to finish it, but I don't know, it's not that good, sometimes it takes me like 2 or 3 weeks to finish it. So anyways, point being, we're just gonna skip the month of May. I'm not picking any new books. So if you're looking for any books to read over the next few weeks before we start the June book, there's tons of reviews I've done, videos here on my Candiland Book Club playlist, and I'm gonna share some really good book reviews with you today because we have lots to catch up on. So first, before we get started on the reviews, I'm gonna go ahead and announce the book for June. And this might look a little familiar to you guys. I put it on my nightstand the other day because I finally finished one of the April books. Like I told you guys, I'm behind. This book, I had it on my reading list for April. I did not get to it yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and bump it up because I want to read this book. It gets really good reviews. It's like a suspenseful type, like I guess a romantic thriller. This girl, she comes into, I believe it's a bookstore, and the guy that's working there ends up like looking up her name, finds her profile on Facebook and Twitter, and this girl, like she tweets like a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna be at this restaurant tonight, or I'm gonna be here tonight. And so this guy ends up like stalking her, and then somehow they meet each other and they get involved. I think they actually kind of have like a whole relationship going. There's this whole like possible murder twist to it. So I don't want to ignore this book. I definitely want to bump it up, and I want to read it for June. So if any of you guys are looking for a good romantic type thriller book to add to your reading list, if you'd like to read this sometime between now and the end of June, I'll be reviewing this like probably at the end of June, beginning of July. Now we have a lot of catching up to do on books for March and April. So March, if you guys remember, was young adult book month. I had already reviewed book number 1, which was Every Day. I definitely recommend this book. It was really good. It was made into a movie. I have not watched the movie yet. I tried to find it on the Amazon, whatever that stick thingy is called. I tried to find it on there, but it's not on there yet. So I believe it's released on DVD the first week in June. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out because I really want to see the movie. So the other 2 books that I had selected for April was One of Us is Lying and Allegedly. This was book number 2. This book, you know, it was good. I'm gonna rate it 3.5. I think the problem with it is the first like quarter of the book was very like kind of intense. It kept my interest. It's kind of like the modern day Breakfast Club. All these kids, they end up going to detention together, and there's this kid that goes to their high school. He has this like gossip website, like where he posts really mean things about other people. And on this website, he kind of knew secrets about all of the other kids that were in detention, and he kind of was hanging it over their heads. So next thing you know, this kid that has the gossip column, he died of an peanut reaction, allergic reaction to his peanut allergy or whatever. And so then it's this whole like mission to find out which of the kids that were in detention with him killed him. Someone put the peanut oil in the cup that he drank water from or whatever. So like I said, the beginning of it was really good because it was like, oh my God, which one of these kids is it? And of course you think it's the bad boy, the drug dealer, you know, like they each all have their own reasons of why they would have wanted this kid to not be alive anymore, because they had really big secrets. And I don't know, like halfway through, it just kept dragging out. Like these kids kept getting called into a police station, being re-interviewed. They're trying to find reasons to like blame each other for it. And I don't know. Towards the end, I was just like, oh, I'd be reading it like this. Oh, okay, boring. Yeah, more about her. No. Like it just got so repetitive. So I'm gonna be honest, there was probably like this much of the book that I skimmed through as fast as I could. Then finally, towards the end, it started getting good again. I actually ended up going back because I was like, oh wait, I think I missed something important. And I went back and learned who it was that killed the kid and why they did it and what they were protecting, and it all made sense, and the ending was actually pretty good. So overall, like I said, 3.5. I would recommend it. Just hang in there. Don't give up if you start to get bored, because it does end pretty well. So then the next book that was from March for the young adult month was Allegedly. And this one is basically about a mother and a daughter. They're babysitting another woman's child, and the child dies. And the younger daughter, I think at the time, I'm not sure how old she is. I want to say 9-year-old daughter. Okay, so her 9-year-old daughter gets convicted, like the jury, the whole 9 yards, convicts her for the murder of this little baby. And so the story goes into like, she was in jail for a while, but then she got out and she was kind of like in a group home. And while she was living in the group home, she was able to get a job and kind of sort of have a normal life. Even though like the woman in charge at the group home's mean to all the girls, makes them clean all the time, you know, like typical kind of like what you would expect. And as time goes on, it keeps, as the story moves forward, it keeps like giving you more and more information about what happened the day of the murder. And obviously as you're reading it, you're thinking, okay, so she didn't do it. Her mother did it. Why did her mother do it? You know, you're thinking that. You're just not really sure. And it ends pretty good. I don't think it was as good as it could have been. I don't know, I just didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I'm gonna rate this one a 3.5 also. I almost wanted to say 4. I felt it at the tip of my lips, but I don't know, there was something missing. So yeah, I would recommend this, especially if you like reading young adult books. However, just don't put it at the top of your must-read list. Put it somewhere in the middle. Okay, and then we're moving to the month of April. 2 of the books that I had selected, April was kind of supposed to be the beach read month. I picked these 2 to take with me on vacation, 2 kind of beach reads. I had picked You as well, even this, I don't know if I would really consider this a beach read, unless you just like reading romantic thrillers on the beach instead of fluffy like love stories. But I ended up reading this one first when I was in Cancun, and this is My Not So Perfect Life by Sophie Kinsella. And it's been a while since I've read any of her books, but I know they're always lighthearted and fun and romantic and make you laugh. And this one definitely didn't disappoint. I'm gonna rate this one a 4.5. I think it was cute. It had a really good storyline. So basically Katie, she's like super jealous of her boss. She like wants to look like her. She wants her life. She wants her perfect husband, her perfect car, purse, clothes, you know, the whole 9 yards. She's just super jealous. And she takes this job. She works in London, and her dad's like really disappointed that that's where she lives. Her dad wanted her to stay at home or closer to home or whatever, so she's got this whole relationship thing going on with her dad and her stepmom. And it ends up she gets fired from her job, which isn't a spoiler because it's written on the back of the cover. And then there's like all this, like, you find out why she got fired, and then actually her boss gets fired and you find out why she got fired. It was all this stuff that was kind of going on like behind the scenes, like someone was plotting to like ruin her basically. And then there's like a romantic part in here, of course, where she meets this guy from work and she just thinks he's so different than all guys that she's ever met before. And then she finds out that this guy is actually some big shot from the company that she was working for. And then while all that's going on, like after she gets fired from her job, she actually goes and lives with her dad and helps her dad and her stepmom start this like glamping business. Kind of like they take this property that they live on that I picture was like in this, you know, out in the country somewhere, and they fix up these little like tents, and I think there's like a cabin or whatever, and they make it like really posh and fancy, and the business ends up taking off, and her old boss ends up showing up to do the whole glamping experience because, you know, they advertised it as though it was this like super great luxury trip for you to bring your kids to and all these cool activities and stuff. And her boss ends up like, of course, finding out that Katie's there and then talking, and then that's how the whole ball got rolling, where they figured out that someone had like plotted to get them fired and so on and so forth. And then I won't tell you how it ends, but it was really good. I read this pretty quickly. It was a perfect book to read while I was on vacation. I definitely recommend it as a beach read, around the pool, summer read, bathtub read, what have you. Next book. This was The Identicals by Elin Hilderbrand, and this book was actually about two twin sisters, and they have this whole like, one lives in Nantucket and one lives in Martha's Vineyard. And the two sisters, they're so different from each other. You have one who's kind of like, you know, glamorous and has a fancy home. She has a daughter. She only eats the perfect food. She never cooks. She has a fancy car, fancy job. Actually, that daughter works for their mother's business, which is selling like high-end boutique like dresses and stuff. So then the other sister, she's more like, she drives a truck. She's got a big drool kind of shaggy dog and drinks beer. Actually, she drinks too much. She sleeps around. Just like I said, completely different from each other. So the story goes on. They end up like crossing paths for many different reasons. They sort of like weren't really talking because they are so different, and they argue and fight, and different things had happened in their past, reasons why they don't really communicate with each other. But their paths start crossing because of different things that happen in the story, and they end up like both falling in love with someone that you would never think they would, like almost like they were mismatched. Like the fancy sister should have been dating the tomboyish sister's boyfriend, like switch the other way around. It was really good. I'm actually gonna give this book a 5.0. I didn't want the story to end. I hate when books are like that, where you get to the end and it ended really good. Like, I liked the ending, but I was like, but I want to know what happens next, you know? It's like there needs to be a part 2. So anyways, out of all the books, I recommend this one the most. This one second, obviously. You guys know how numbers work. That catches you guys all up. Please feel free to join me. This book, I think, came out like a few years ago, so you should be able to get this from your library, but I still think it's pretty popular. So thanks guys for joining me today. Hopefully I gave you some good recommendations for books you would like to read here in the near future, and hopefully you'll come back and read my review for the book for June. So thanks guys for watching. Be sure you're subscribed. I will see you in my next video, and make it a great day. Bye.